My name is Alfred B. Schooler, and I was in the U.S. Navy. In 1942, I was working for International Paper Company, and basically a lot of my friends were a year or two older than I was, and they were being drafted right and left, so I just decided to join. I went to the draft board, and I knew the gentleman that was the head of the draft board and asked him to send me to Camp Jackson. It was Fort Jackson, now it was Camp Jackson back then. And they would send a bus, I don't know how often, every 2 or 3 weeks at least, loaded with people. And so I went on the next bus and to Camp Jackson. We got there, and of course, being that all the people from Georgetown, everybody wanted to get in the Navy. But they put everybody in the Army but 3 of us. And one of them wanted to get in the Army because he'd been at Clemson for about 2 years and had some ROTC training, but they put him in the Navy too. So 3 of us out of the crowd got in the Navy, and I went to Bainbridge, Maryland for boot camp. And after I finished boot camp and came home for a week or 2, then I went to electrician school in Bainbridge for 4 months. And after that, I was shipped to California in what they call an outgoing unit. And we stayed there for probably a month. The thing I remember about that most is that when you washed your clothes to hang them outside, you had to stay there and watch them, because when you came back, they were gone. It didn't take long for them to dry out there in that sun. But anyway, then I got on the ship and went to Pearl Harbor. In December of '43, I was left San Francisco area. It was called the outgoing unit there, and we went to Pearl Harbor, and it took well over a week because it would zigzag and that kind of stuff. And I stayed there until Christmas Day in 1943, and I went aboard ship. And that was a good Christmas. So we went to sea the next day, and I got seasick and stayed sick for a week. We came back in, and they immediately put me on KP for 3 months. And then after that, I started, well, the rank was a fireman, but then I did that some, and then I started doing electrical work. And that's the basis of basically what I did the time that I was there. And then we came home, we came back, well, before the war was over, because the European War, it was over there while we wanted to be back. We were going through the Panama Canal and come up to Philadelphia to decommission the ship. And when we heard the war was over, everybody started throwing their gear overboard, and the captain said, anybody throw that thing overboard will be court-martialed. They go to Captain's mast, 'cause he didn't like that. But anyway, we got back to Philadelphia and decommissioned the ship, and I came home on leave, and they sent me to Charleston, and I stayed there I don't know, a little while, and then they sent me to Norfolk to get on an aircraft carrier. And by then the war was over, but the ship was being used to ferry troops from Italy. But as soon as I got on it, they said, we're going to Philadelphia and decommission this one. So we did that, and then it's time for me to get discharged, and I came home. We did patrol work. You still in that area at the time, you could have no lights at night. In Honolulu, you know, it was pitch dark, and you had liberty in the daytime. And so, and on the ship, of course, it was dark, and the electric shack that was on the ship was the only place where you could open a hatch. It was really a door, it wasn't a thing up. And as soon as you cracked the door, the lights went out. There was a switch on there. And so when we'd stand watch, that was the only place you could make coffee. And I didn't drink coffee, but the group I was standing watch would ask me to go make coffee, and they'd stand watch for me. So I stayed in the electric shack on my watch most of the time. It really wasn't very exciting, just waiting to get home. Well, being in the Pacific wartime, I really felt I didn't have any anxiety at all, because I felt like the war was thousands of miles away, and the only thing that could happen is if Japs would come in with subs to try to shell Pearl Harbor or something like they did with the planes in '41. So I really didn't have any anxiety. And December, when the attack occurred on December 7th, I was at Walgreens. I was Jerk Soda there while before I went to the paper mill, and I had gotten off or something and came out, and I just couldn't fathom what had happened. It was so terrible. So we didn't know what was going on, really. Well, at the start of World War II, I went over to the paper mill. This, of course, December was when they bombed Pearl Harbor, and I went to the paper mill in January and started working there. And things weren't rationed, so to speak, at that time. And paper mill worked 6-hour shifts. You know, your long weekend was from 1 o'clock Saturday to midnight Sunday. That was the longest time you had off. So we, and then there were a lot of single fellows that had come with the mill, that moved from out of town. And well, that summer we rented a cottage on the beach on Paulus, and just about 5 or 6 of us stayed over there. They had a bus service. Gas was beginning to be rationed, and we had a bus that would come by down Paulus Island and pick up people working at the mill. And so we got along pretty good during that time. But then a lot of the people that I used to run around with a little bit, they were maybe a year older than me, or a couple of years, and they were being drafted and volunteering to go in. So that's in '43. I said I better get in too. So I did that. Well, the GI Bill had a very positive effect on my life, because we had only 11 grades in school at the time. I'd been out of high school for 5 years, working and being in service, and I went to the University of South Carolina. And quite frankly, I thought I was going to study electrical engineering, but after 2 semesters of that, I figured I better change so I could pass and get out. So I took business administration, and it was a very positive effect, because my family couldn't afford to send me to college, and and I wasn't smart enough for a scholarship, so I graduated in business administration. About all of them, it seemed like. It really was. In fact, I had 2 brothers younger than myself. Well, 3 brothers that went. 2 of them went in World War II, besides myself. And then my younger brother went in after the war and all, and went to optometry school. I think had a very positive effect, because I don't know what percentage of the college graduates would have gone to college without it. I know it. Well, awful lot of them, about everybody I knew had been in service. And they were both working, and so, well, they fed all right. Like I say, both of them working, and they got by and did all right. They never accumulated anything other than 3 boys that gave them a fit. Well, life before the war was, of course, being real young and carefree, and enjoyed a lot of the things that didn't cost money. And then after the war, Georgetown became more cosmopolitan, I guess, because the paper mill was here and people were working, and everybody seemed to be thriving on it. And Georgetown is just a good place to be. I, of course, born and raised here, and when I finished college, I worked 3 years in Greenville, and I couldn't get back fast enough. I would describe the war years in my life as it really, I never was in any danger, felt that I was in any danger, and I, of course, being away from everybody you know has an effect on you. But I'm one of the lucky ones, I know it. I had a friend that wanted to go in the same time I did, and he didn't go. So when he went in 6 months later, they were putting everybody in the Army and training them for D-Day, and he got killed over there. So